What's going on, guys, and welcome to Formula 7 Realistic. We are live here in Mexico, so we're on board with the two Mercedes drivers who have come out side by side on track, and then Mirko down towards the Estes at turn 7, 8 and 9. Oh, a little bit sketchy through there for the Italian. We've not long raced Mexico in the tier division, and now we are back for Realistic. A yellow flag. So over the apex of turn 12, and then in towards the stadium section, and then around turn 17 down towards the line. Short qualifying tonight, a bit of a change, and it's a 1:14.6. Vampinus will be next to the line. It's a 1:14.7 from the championship leader. I am absolutely shattered. A 1:15.8 from Mitch, who has been incredible in that Sauber this season. Super Trouba in the Williams. Deadly in the Aston Martin with a 1:15.6, just in front of Mitch in the Sauber. And then we do have a couple of Red Bulls, Mintoki, and then CJ on an outlap. But we do have Hackmore and Reese on laps. Reese is going to be first as he comes into the stadium section, but he has invalidated it. So we go on board with Hackmore right over the apex at turn 12. And the Scuderia through turn 13, 14 and 15. And then around the final couple of corners and towards the line for the Belgian driver. And it is P3 for the Scuderia. A 1:15.0 for him, and Mintoki in the Red Bull. A 1:15.2 goes P4. Just promoted up from Racing Bull right at the last minute. Here comes B right through the stadium section. He took vital points in this championship battle. In towards the line, it's a 1:14.8, and it is P3. He is behind both Mercedes drivers on their first runs. So we will now jump on board with the Ferrari and see what they can do during this qualifying session. It is really close in the championship in Tier 1 and Realistic at the moment. And it's pretty much the same drivers in all. Reese has backed out, and that is CJ that comes to the line and goes P8 in the Red Bull. He did go down to the Racing Bulls. He's got an opportunity to come back up and race in the Red Bull tonight. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. Jack did set a 1:16.2 in that Haas, and he is up to P12. As I said, only 15 drivers on the grid tonight, but I'm still expecting fireworks, and that is not just the ones through the stadium section. So all the drivers pretty much got their banker laps in with 11 minutes remaining. And Kevin Gamer will start his flying lap. So Mirko with a 1:14.6 was a really good lap from him. Just over half a tenth, well just under half a tenth in front of his teammate. It is a lockout for Mercedes momentarily with just under 11 minutes remaining. I'm not sure that'll be the case when they get to the end of qualifying. I say Kevin Gate has got purple sector 1, but I'm not sure. I'm not saying he's not capable of it. So through the S's for Kevin Gamer. Yeah, salute. So what can the Alpine reserve driver put on display here in Mexico? And then through the stadium, out of turn 16 and 17, the Alpine driver of Kevin Gamer. Trubo, I don't know what's going on with Twitch. It feels very dodgy tonight. I'm not sure what's going on. So Mirko and Vampinus are back on outlaps in their Mercedes. And we do have a McLaren in P3. So the championship at the moment Fanfurness leads on 328 points. Be Right in P2 on 304, so 24 points separate them. And then there's quite a considerable gap now to Reese on 248, so he is 56 points behind Be Right and 84 behind Fanfurness going into the remaining couple of races. I think 6 races, so that is a huge gap for Reese to make up, but it is not out of the realms of the possible outcomes to this championship. CJ is on another lap in that Red Bull. But yeah, still all to play for. Yeah, he's well down, so he's not on a lap, he is well down. So Fanfurness and Mirko, they're not as close together on track this time. Mirko ever so slightly down as the Red Bull just peels off to the right hand side, gives the space to the Italian as we go through the S's. And you see the Red Bull and the Sauber just in the distance behind, and AMS Mirko trying to improve, and he is improving. He's nearly 1.5 tenths up as he goes over the apex at turn 14. And it's a 1:14.555 for AMS Mirko. And then at Fanfurness, they are already locking out the front row, but he's down slightly on his lap time. He ends up improving, so he must have had a belter of a sector 3. And he stays in P2 and improves on his lap time. So a Sauber of Mitch will start his flying lap, but we have an Aston Martin next. The Aston Martin of Deadly. So no other drivers really on a flyer. Jack is currently in P12. We want to improve and get in front of Nick, and he does a 1:15.8, and he goes in front of the Sauber, and then the McLaren's now coming through. Lewis just behind B Right, and Lewis improves to a 1:15.0, and it is P6 for the Papaya. That is Reese in the Ferrari, and he takes provisional pole here in Mexico. A 1:14.4 from that Scuderia in the Scarlet Red. So it is Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. So, and then Red Bull. McLaren, Red Bull. Wow, I just noticed that. Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull, McLaren, Red Bull. That is how it stands at the moment. Then you've got an Aston, Sauber, half. Interesting. So let's see what B Right can do. He's not improving on his lap time. He's 2.5 seconds down. In fact, he's not even pushing at this point. So into the pit lane he goes with 5.5 minutes of qualifying remaining. Mitch and Nick. I don't think Nick is improving coming through the S's, but I'll tell you who is, and that is Mitch. We do have 3 drivers in the 1:15.6s, so if they can find any extra pace on this circuit, they'll improve as Mitch pulls out. And so does Nick. Yellow flags waving, just drivers moving out of the way for each other. Is that a Red Bull? It is. CJ on an outlap. And we head down towards turn 12 with that rear wing open. A brief flip. So CJ heading down towards turn 1 with that DRS enabled. Maxibot and Super Turbo were even on points going into this race. Maxibot not racing, so it gives Super Turbo an opportunity. Oh, he's invalidated it, has CJ. Kevin Gamer is the other driver on track. All the others are still in the pit lane. So where we at? Kevin Gamer, Reese is back on an outlap in that Ferrari with just under 3 minutes remaining. They are going to leave it very late. Reese is potentially going to have 2 cracks at this. He's going to have 2 opportunities. So, through the exits. Oh, Jack is out. Jack in the house is out. So he's not going to waste any more tyres, any more resources. That is it. So, through the stadium section for the Ferrari of TF10 Reese. And here we go. So, for the final time in qualifying, Reese will get us underway. And he hasn't potentially got time to go again, actually. So this will be his final lap in towards turn 1. He's got his teammate behind him. Is his teammate going to try and help him out with a little bit of slipstream? Look at this. He's playing the team game. The Ferraris here in Mexico working together to try and take that top spot off the McLarens. This is remarkable. So TF10 Reese third in the Drivers' Championship, getting a helping hand from his teammate. Where can he put it? Go in to turn 12 and then in towards 13 and 14 over the apex, hugging the next chicane through the stadium in towards turn 16. He took a bit of a chunk of that apex down to the line. It's a 1:14.2 and TF10 Reese had taken a provisional pole here in Mexico. A load of the other drivers coming to the line. Jay in the hat is already on one. Mirko is improving even more, but is it going to be enough to take provisional pole? We're about to find out as the clock ticks away. It is purple sector 2 for the Mercedes AMG. He took a nice line through turn 15 and then 16. The checkered flag has waved down to the line. Mirko stays P2, he does improve. Then the Haas of J goes up to P10 and in front of both Saubers. The Aston Martin of Deadly stays P9, and then the Mercedes of Fanfiner stays P5. He's not going to get anywhere near his teammate Mintoki. His debut race for Red Bull goes P4. Hackmore is on a lap. He's behind the Alpine. He's been blocked. The Alpine of Kev, and now the Sauber's there. Kev needs to watch out. There's so many drivers on laps. Oh, his car is checkered flagged. There's McLarens and everything coming through. B Wright's hit the line. He's only P3. The Saubers is going to be... How's it your AI? What's happened? CJ to the line, stays P8, so it is Reese that takes pole position. So there we have it in qualifying. Reese takes pole position here in Mexico. It is Merkel that takes P2, B Wright in P3, Mintoki in P4, Hackmore in P5, Fanfinis in P6, Lewis W in P7, CJ in P8, Mitch in P9, and then it is Nick in the Sauber in P10. Then we have Deadly in 11, Jay in 12, and then the Haas of Jack in P13. In P14 we have Super Trubo and then Kevin Gamer in P15. So here we go. Every single driver on mediums, barring Super Turbo and Hard, as they all line up. This is so important. Fanfinis, who is the championship leader, is behind B Wright, separated by 26 points. So here we go. Round 14 here in Formula 7 Realistic, powered by Sim Racing Setups. And it is lights out and away we go as we head down towards turn 1. Mirko got a good start in the Mercedes. The Ferrari tries to cover him off, but it is the AMG driver that takes the lead here in Mexico. The McLaren of B-Ride will go around the outside of his championship rival. They do touch. The Ferrari's got his nose ahead, but now the McLaren comes back at him. The Mercedes leaves them behind, fighting out between each other. Mirko stays in P1. Now here comes the Papaya McLaren on the Scuderia. It is the Ferrari that goes up the inside of the Mercedes. Hackmore makes the move on Mintoki, and the Ferrari is through on the Red Bull as they all funnel through turn 5, and that is Mitch in the Sauber, and then Lewis W in the McLaren as he is down 1 position, and Fanfrenes, the championship leader, down to P7 as the Sauber goes off the track, and Mitch is up 3 places. A phenomenal start from the Sauber. So we can calm down just a little bit. Jay is at the back, potentially with damage. So this is where it starts to get interesting, where the DRS starts to kick in. So that is Reese chasing down Mirko. That is Fanfrenes on Mitch, but he's gone deep, and Mitch will return the favour. The old switchback on the Mercedes. Can Fanfrenes come back? They do, and they do touch. And Fanfrenes gives Mitch just what he got in return. And that was a bit tasty between the pair of them. So that was a little bit feisty, that one, wasn't it? Remember, DRS is now enabled. So Mitch is rounding that Sauber after a brilliant start to this Grand Prix. This start has been great for Reese and B-Right, but awful for Fanfrenes. I'm wondering if Mirko has been given team orders from the Mercedes team principal to say, listen here, you need to do something to stop this Ferrari and this McLaren, because Fanfrenes' lead in the championship is starting to dwindle away the more races we go through. But he's not able to close that gap or get an overtake. We'll stay on board with the front 3. That's a yellow flag, and that is Nick. That is now both Saubers that are round. And losing places. Oh, Kev. Is that a safety car? Kev spun off the track and just drove right back on in front of Kevin Gamer, in front of Mitch, and took him right out the Grand Prix. CJ picking up a penalty for a collision with Lewis. It is a safety car. It is a safety car. A full course safety car. Wow. So Kevin Gamer lost it through the S's, well, at the end of the S's, and then come back on track in front of Mitch and took his wheel off. So it has caused the safety car. It'll be interesting to see what the drivers do here, because they've all started on mediums. And it is usually a two-stopper anyway. Yeah, they are all coming into the pit lane. The Ferraris are double stacking, and that has cost Hackmore a lot of time here. He might lose a few positions. Trubo was the only driver to start on the hard. This is perfect for him. So just give me 2 seconds, I'm going to grab a jump whilst the safety car's out. So here comes Merkel on the safety car restart. He'll move over to the right and he will get through. On the Williams driver, B. Wright is through on the Ferrari, but he's going to stay behind the Mercedes. Here comes Reese. Later on the brakes, is he going to try and go at the inside? He does hit the McLaren a few times there, and it does get a bit tasty as B. Wright tries to get through on the Williams. And he's trying to find a path through as the Williams starts to attack the Mercedes down in towards turn 4 and 5. And still the Ferrari and the McLaren go at it. And now here comes Fanfordus, the championship leader, up the inside of the Scuderia. Reese just staying ahead. Mintoki is there. Hackmore, Lewis W. Oh, and Reese took that really badly, and that might have opened up the door here for Fanfiners as Reese tries to squeeze in, but the Mercedes driver, Reese, goes really late on the brakes and off the track. And that could have potentially been an overtake off the track because he's gone late, gone off the track to get the overtake done. But he's done a fantastic job in getting back in front there, Reese, so well done to him. Credit to how late he can get on that brake pedal. It's brilliant to watch. Here comes B Wright, and he does move through on the Williams. He's doing a tremendous job on them hard compound tyres. And there goes Lewis on Hackmore. The McLaren is through on the other Ferrari. Fanfiners trying again on Reese. Hackmore coming back at Lewis, and the Belgian driver back in front. Reese might be caught up behind this Williams shortly. Hackmore is able to stay in front, and there goes CJ on the inside of Jack, and the Red Bull is through on the Haas. You can see Reese lunging up the inside. He's gone so wide on the exit our corner. He's took Trubo out, and Fanfinus is through, and he's lost the position. He's also 1.5 seconds behind B right now, the Ferrari. So a little bit of drama already. With realistic, you've got to be so careful as well, because there's no ghosting, and you're going to have slower cars as well. And there goes B Wright on Mirko, and the McLaren driver is going to go into the lead of the Grand Prix. They do nearly touch. Mirko's down to P2. Fanfinus is through on Reese. And it is all turned on its head. The championship leader is now into the podiums. The championship contender is down to P4, and the driver second in the Drivers' Championship is in the lead. This is phenomenal stuff. Who knows what's going to happen next? Fanfinus and Reese are 2 seconds behind Mirko and B Wright. Mirko doing his best to hold up B Wright for his teammate, but he wasn't able to hold him up much longer. I'll be surprised if Reese doesn't get back through though. Trubo's still doing a good job because he's on them hards as well. So here comes Reese on Fanfinus. What about Mirko and B Wright? And remember, you get that double dose of DRS, so it's really hard to keep somebody behind. There goes Reese on Fanfinus. And B Wright did stay in front of Mirko, but for how long? It's crazy that you get another dose of that DRS, even if you're the car in front. Here comes Mirko now. Is he going to try and make the move on B Wright? He's not close enough. And as this goes on, the gap slightly increases. That is Deadly and Super Turbo. That is the Aston Martin in the Williams. And the Aston Martin will take a wider line to leave space. And now here comes the Red Bull of CJ up the inside of the hairpin. And that is a great move from CJ. What about Jack and Nick? They're going at it. And Jack in the Haas is through on the Kick Sauber. That's some good battle in there. Ten laps down, 26 to go. I'm going to be honest, guys, if the commentary isn't that good, I'm really sorry. I don't think I've ever been this tired. So here comes Mirko on B Wright. And he might be close enough to make the move, or is he going to wait for the second DRS straight? He's going to wait, and there goes Fanfinus on Reese. And the more they battle each other, the bigger gap they're going to give to the drivers ahead. And that is Nick that is thrown. Jack lunges up the inside, gets it done. Mirko and B Right not able to go again. And Jack and Nick are having a great battle of their own. Hackmore Mintoki, his debut in Realistic. He's done 2 races in Tier 1. I thought he was brilliant, so I brought him in for Realistic. He got upgraded to the Red Bull car just before the race started. And he's doing a fabulous job. Mirko chasing down at B Right. So, half a second is the gap. I think Mirko might be close enough to make the move here. And he is closing the gap. Is he going to go for it? He isn't. Oh, the McLaren's nearly spun it. The McLaren and the Mercedes hits the back of him. And that could have ended in disaster. Reese is back from Fanfitness. That is Nick that is thrown Super Turbo on them older hard compound tyres. Mirko not going to go for the move. Reese has got the DRS so he can move ahead. But that was very close to the race being jeopardised for B Right after 12 laps. So, them hard compound tyres of Super Turbos only on 34%, and the hard tyres of the drivers that pitted are on 24, so there's not massive amounts of difference. Mirko's got this in the bag. Look how close he is this time. Here comes Mirko into the slipstream. He's going to move to the outside line, and the Mercedes is finally back into the lead of the Grand Prix, and Fanfitness is back from Reese. So both Mercedes drivers gain positions on lap 13. Unlucky for some, not for them. The AMG is through. They are 1 and 3. So 1.7 is the gap from P2 to P3. B Right seems to be struggling a little bit more on them tyres than Mirko is. Oh, he's done it again. He is having a real problem with them rears. Oh, I didn't even know Hackmore was out of the lobby. I do apologise. Yeah, he is having a real problem with them rears. He will get the DRS. Fanfitness will be left wide open once more for the attack from Reese in the Ferrari. He is going to go for the move, and the Scuderia is back into the podiums. What about the drivers at the back? Is Jack close enough to Super Turbo? He's got the DRS, so is Jay. And remember, he gets that double dose of DRS. The Mercedes covers off the inside line. It loses the rears. All the drivers are struggling. Wow, that is interesting. Them hard tyres already on 30%, so a long way to go. That might have been a track limit violation there for Mirko. Yeah, you can see the drivers are a little bit more wary now about going so quickly through certain corners. And that is what tends to happen in races. The drivers will make a mistake or they'll lose the rears, and then their confidence, even though they say it won't, their confidence begins to drop. And then every time they go into that corner, they then think about it and they think, oh, I'll go a little bit slower this time. And then it starts to compromise the entrance and the exit. And then here comes B Right. into the slipstream. He's going to retake the lead on the Mercedes. Yeah, exactly, Reese. And then it just plays in the drivers' minds, and before you know it, they're making mistakes, and it's just how quickly it can change around here. Really unfortunate for Mitch and the Sauber to be out of this race, because he was doing an amazing job at the start of this Grand Prix. Just a lack of awareness from the Alpine of Kevin Gamer to come back on track right in front of him. There goes Jack on Super Turbo. He's going to switch it left, switch it right. Can he get the exit on them fresher tyres? He can't this time, but he will get the DRS. Can he close the gap before they make it to the chicane? He can, and the Haas driver will go up the inside of his long-standing rival of Super Turbo. Turbo will try and come back, but Jack's got the grip, and he is in front. The Haas driver is up to P11. So CJ picking up a time penalty. Here comes Mirko. Is he close enough? He's going to leave it very late. He's not. B Wright's able to stay in front when he gets ahead, but he will get that DRS again. CJ is back into the pit lanes. Remember, he pitted and came back out on mediums. Here comes Mirko. Is he going to go for that late lunge up the inside? He's not. And that's how you go racing. You don't want to make them lunges up the inside just to get past. You've got to be patient and wait for the perfect opportunity. And he's displaying great racing IQ here, Mirko. And then he's got Reese behind him, who is super, super quick. Maybe not as smart as somebody like Mirko in the car, but much quicker when it comes to pace. I'd say much quicker on the grand scheme of things. Mirko has improved massively, but Reese is the calibre of driver you strive to be. Oh, 3-second time penalty for the Ferrari. Wow. Yeah, Reese is an unbelievable driver. There's Super Turbo, he's round. The Williams driver stayed out on them hards for too long, lost the rears, and he is around in the S's. But yeah, back to Reese, incredible driver. And remember, he's only young as well. The more he ages and the more he improves and gets better, he will be unstoppable in years to come as B Wright loses the rears again. They're struggling a lot now. That double dose of DRS. And what I can say for Mirko is at such a young age, he has such a high racing IQ. Here comes Mirko up the inside. CJ is in front of Super Turbo. Lewis W is going at deadly. The Aston Martin driver with the DRS stays in front of the Papaya. Mintoki is within that DRS range. So on his debut, he's staying right there with them. I like this a lot from the Red Bull. The only DNF being Mitch. So far, we are just about to enter the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. So, it is the McLaren in front. He might be open for a double Mercedes overtake here. Let's wait and see. Sorry. I should have muted my mic. Here comes Mintoki. Oh, he went for the move on the Ferrari. He has a bit more straight line speed there, and the Red Bull driver seen an opening and nearly went for it. Lewis W is through on deadly. He returns the favour from the previous lap. That time penalty for Reese is going to be so costly come the end of this race. Oh no! Watch out, watch out! Thank God he got off the track there. All the leaders were coming through and there's no ghosting as well. Whew. Wow. That was close. There we go. Very well done. Be Right is into the pits. Be Right is into the pits from the lead of this Grand Prix on lap 19. Wow. There he is. You see the concentration through the visor. Here comes Mintoki. He is in front of the Ferrari, who once again goes really late on the brakes. And he's able to pull that Ferrari to a stop. It's amazing how late he's able to go. Here comes the Red Bull, though, into the slipstream. They've got DRS, the Ferrari wiggling there in front, trying to keep the Red Bull behind. He's doing a good job so far, but the Red Bull is in front of the Ferrari. And Reese settled back in for P4. Into the hairpin we go. And the Red Bull of Mintoki is into the podium places provisionally. The problem you've got now is Mintoki's a bit of a sitting duck. No, Reese is in the pit lane. Reese is in the pits. So where they're going to come out, fan finishing now into the lead of the Grand Prix. Is that tactical from the Mercedes? So Reese is on his way out. Be Right's just coming down the pit straight now. He's got Nick in front of him. He'll get the DRS and he will come out in front of Reese, quite significantly in front of Reese as well. That is not what the Ferrari driver would have hoped for. 5.5 seconds to Nick. He's around 6.5, 7 seconds to Be Right here off one lap. But obviously you've got to factor in the battle with Mintoki as well. Wow. Reese will be fuming. I wonder if the Mercedes will now come into the pit lane. Hackmore keeps dropping out. Both Mercedes have stayed out. That is interesting. Here comes Mirko on Fanfinus. And I hope we're not going to get a Hamilton and Rosberg situation. And that is Lewis W into the pit lane. Be Right saying fastest laps, and he will go through on Deadly with a fastest lap with that DRS open. But the Aston Martin also has DRS, and he's got a bit more straight line speed as well. He is burning that battery. Be Right goes later on the brakes, makes the chicane, and he is through. And Deadly will just settle back in behind the provisional leader as Be Right chases down the Ferrari. It's got to be a Sergio Perez-esque decision again from Dennis. Mirko is now starting to take out a little bit of time from his teammate. That is Super Turbo and Jack going at it for round 2. I like it. Fanfinus is in the pits. So they are bringing in the championship leader first. That is interesting. Where is he going to come out? So Hackmore has stayed out. On Hackmore, 47% hard compound tyres. And Reese comes out in front of Fanfinus by around 2 seconds. That is huge for Fanfinus. Reese is in a really bad position in this race. So 2-stop and a 1-stop position change tyres. Look at that. Be Right is chasing down that Ferrari in front though. Mirko on 60% old hard compound tyres. Be Right will want to close down the gap to this Ferrari so that he can get him on this straight. He does not want to get stuck behind him through the corners. Mintoki stays out, the Ferrari stays out, so obviously keep that McLaren behind. And now here comes Be Right in that McLaren to try and chase down that Ferrari to avoid being kept behind. And here comes the McLaren. He is going to get it done. He's not going to be held up into the corners. The McLaren is through, and Hackmore will settle back in behind. And the McLaren just too quick down the straight. And if anything, he managed to get a bit of a toe there off Hackmore, get the DRS off him as well. So the gap is still 5.8. Oh, Mirko has picked up a time penalty. 13 laps remaining. Mintoki is your leader. Be Right is your provisional leader. That is Jay into the pit lane. This is going to be a really interesting end to this Grand Prix in terms of what strategies everybody's on. So Mintoki is into the pit lane. Be Right stays out, so does Hackmore. Well, Be Right obviously, but Hackmore stays out. Is Hackmore maybe going to try and hold up Pamphilus now? And because that is where his fight is with. It's with Pamphilus as well as Be Right. I think at the moment Be Right is on a different strategy, a different level to racing that Ferrari, and I think Hackmore needs to really focus on Pamphilus to try and hold him back and utilise their team orders and teamwork. So the gap 2.5 to Hackmore. Remember that it's essentially 8 seconds the gap to the leader because he's got that penalty. Through the S's they go. It is the McLaren that leads. The gap is quite spread out between all of the drivers. Yellow flag, and that is the Alpine again. He's just getting out of the way of all of the drivers. And that is Reese that is through on his teammate. And is this where Hackmore goes defensive? He wasn't able to hold up Be Right. Can he at least hold up Pamphilus? We shall see. The gap 4.6. Reese is starting to reel him in on them fresher tyres. And that is exactly what Hackmore is doing. He is holding Pamphilus up. And he gets a time penalty. He forces him over the apex. He's lost the second and picked up a 3-second time penalty. And there goes Pamphilus up the inside. You can see the frustration. Hackmore slamming on the brakes to hold up Pamphilus. And finally, Pamphilus is through. I must say, that was very on the brink of being dangerous, but what a splendid job from Hackmore. It was very dangerous though. So here comes Mirko now up the inside of the Ferrari. Hackmore will go defensive once again, but on the exit he goes, and Hackmore having to concede position. And now the chase is on. The gap is only 3.9 to the leader for Rees. So Deadly on CJ. Deadly was in the rounds of going for an overtake. Hackmore stays out again. 63% on them hards. Is he potentially waiting for a safety car at this point? That is a yellow flag. And that is Kevin Gamer again into the stadium section. Doing a good job, 27 laps at the moment for Kev. There goes Deadly for on CJ. Around the outside, the Red Bull peeks up the inside, but he's not able to get the move done. And now here comes Lewis, a huge snap from the Red Bull. And Lewis had to be right on his wits with that. Had to be very aware of where the Red Bull was. 3.4 is the gap. 28% for Rees's hard compound tyres. B-Rights will be on potentially 38%. And Fanfinish on 20%. Mirko on 16%. So a lot of different tyres here. And that was Rees getting a little tow from the Williams. Says thank you very much and picks up the pieces. Lewis is going to try and come back at CJ in that Red Bull. 8 laps to go. And into the slipstream, Lewis W1, CJ 3000, and the Papaya is back through on the Oracle Red Bull. 3.7. The longer this race goes on, the more them tyres wear down, and the quicker Rees will get in comparison to B-Right. The same with the two Mercedes behind. And Hackmore, as we've seen, did a brilliant job holding up them with both the Mercedes drivers. Very on the line, I must say, but did a great job. Minto kit on medium compounds. And he's now on the back of Hackmore. 3.2 is the gap with 8 laps remaining. 7.5. Oh, Mintoki with a 3-second time penalty. Here he comes. And Hackmore finally enters the pit lane. Remember, the gap is 3.6, but he does have, well, as do all of the drivers behind B-Right, they have 3-second time penalties. And I'm pretty sure they'll come into play as it stands. So Lewis following the Aston Martin of Deadly through the S's. And you can see on the track map where the McLaren is and where the Ferrari is. You can see just in the distance, look at that, in the rear view mirror of that McLaren. I wonder if Mirko will stay behind Fanfness, or will he try and catch up to Reese and maybe hold him up and do his teammate a favour. But I'm pretty sure they'll swap back before the line, knowing that the championship that Fanfness is fighting for now. Oh, that is Hackmore on CJ on them pressure tyres. CJ picking up another time penalty. They have been back off the track and just getting out of the way of the drivers. So into the stadium section. 6 laps remaining. The gap has not really come down over the last 2 laps. 41% for Reese on them hard, so God knows what B Wright is on. He pitted 1 lap sooner. I tell you what, this is going to be very close from the end of the Grand Prix for them guys on the tyres. Reese is actually losing time to B right now, and his tyres are 1 lap pressure. Mirko has been let through by Fanfness, so the teamwork is in play. Is Mirko going to catch Reese? Is he going to hold him up, and is he going to let Fanfness through this? It's brilliant because the team principles play such a huge role in realistic in terms of strategies and holding each other up and things like that. So yeah, it's really good to see. And the Red Bull is just coming around. There is CJ. So Mirko only 1.1 behind. Fanfness staying with him. 4.5 laps to go. I am going to be honest though, I've got no chance of me doing interviews, no chance. I could fall asleep in this chair right now, honestly. Oh God. I do apologise guys, I do apologise. So, Reese, 3.3 behind. Mirko and Fanfness are both within DRS range. Gamer into the pit lane for that new front wing. 3 seconds. Has Reese been nurturing them tyres? There goes Hackmore on at Lewis W. 2.6. Wow, Reese took like a second out of B right on that lap. This is really close, but he's going to have to find 6 seconds, Reese, because of that time penalty. Here comes Mirko. Mirko on Reese. The Mercedes and the Ferrari are going at it. And Reese and Mirko wheel to wheel once more. They touch. Mirko's off the track. Here comes Fanfness with the DRS. The championship leader will try and make a move on Reese. And the Ferrari driver will have to settle in behind Fanfness on this one as Mirko comes back at him. But the championship leader is up to P2. Hackmore is through on Deadly and he goes up to P6 and in front of the Aston Martin. But it is all to play for. McLaren to Mercedes to Ferrari here in Mexico with just over 3 laps to go. Fanfurness's tyres 10% pressure. So only one DNF, and that was Mitch who got taken out. And you can see Reese on them tyres really struggling. Here comes Mirko. He will get DRS. And that gives B Wright a little bit more breathing space. Fanfurness should be a lot quicker though. Here comes Mirko again. That is the Mercedes, the Ferrari once again, really late on the brakes. And they do touch again. Deja vu from the last lap. They'll both get DRS. Mirko into the slipstream of Reese. The Mercedes doing everything he can to try and help his teammate. And around the outside goes Mirko, and he is in front of Reese. Reese will come around the hairpin. Can he get back in front of the Mercedes? These are vital points that he's losing, and Mirko helping his teammate out massively. This is huge. 2 and a bit laps to go into the stadium section. So Fanfurness 3.6 behind B Wright, then Mirko, then Reese. Did he get DRS? He didn't. That means that Reese will attack. Only problem is he's on 60% hard compounds. Into turn 1 we go. And they are now 4 seconds behind the leader. B Wright just needs to bring this home now. The McLaren team will be buzzing with the performance from this McLaren. Reese in the Ferrari, very Charles Leclerc-esque here today. It's sort of like, you know, he's got the potential, you know he can be a world champion in realistic, but every time the race happens, he just seems to have some sort of bad luck. So we are about to go on to the final lap. The gap is 3.4. Everybody behind him with penalties. He's just got to bring it home, and that is it. So down the pitch straight, the yellow flag waving. That is Kevin Gamer. So Mirko will stay behind his teammate. Reese is out of DRS range. He did get DRS though. And B Wright heading down towards turn 5. It's been a pretty flawless performance here. I think it's collateral damage for Fanfurness. Look at this from Deadly and Lewis. Nothing to separate them. These are fighting for vital points on the last lap. But it's collateral damage for Fanfurness. He knows that he's the championship leader. Even if he finishes second here, the gap would only be down to 20 points. So it's still a good performance, but B Wright is going to come through out of the stadium section, and B Wright here in round 14 wins the Mexico Grand Prix. Fanfurness will come through to take P2, Mirko in P3, and Reese comes through to take P4. Mintoki on his debut for Red Bull will take P5. And then Hackmore in P6. We'll just wait for Jay and then the 2 Haas drivers as the fireworks erupt through the stadium. There you have it. On the top step is Be Right. So let's go through your final standings. So Be Right wins to Fanfurnace in P2, Mirko in P3. Reese takes P4 and Mintoki in P5, Hackmore P6, Lewis W in P7, Deadly in P8, the Sauber of Nick in P9. Then we have CJ in P10, Jay in P11, the Haas driver of Jack in P12. Then in P13, Super Turbo, 14, Kevin Gamer and Mitch in P15. My driver of the day, I've got to give it to Be Right. From P3 to P1, a dominant display. I've rarely give driver of the day to McLarens this season, but yeah, I've got to give it today. Brilliant performance. Right, that is it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. We do have a break week, so I will see you not this Sunday, the Sunday after. Thank you all so much, guys, and I'm sorry if I was a bit lackluster tonight. Just so tired from work. But have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.